But a lot of people, on the other hand, feel that what makes a blog interesting and different from publications is that it can mix the personal with the professional fairly easily, and so people know, you know, it's your full person as opposed to just some aspect of it. I want to see whether anybody else has any questions. I can tell you a little bit about the companies that are in our portfolio that may spark some questions. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about Twitter?
Yes.
And how the revolution is sort of shaping search?
So, so there's a little story to maybe indicate this. So, there was an earthquake not that long ago out of the West Coast, and Larry Page was one of the co-founders of Google, went online on Google and Googled for the earthquake, and not surprisingly he didn't find anything because Google, even though it's actually fairly fast at indexing things, can't index the entire web every night. I mean, the web is huge, and so Google makes choices about how quickly it indexes various things. And then he went on Twitter, and of course people were tweeting like crazy about the earthquake and the results, and were linking to early articles. So one of the things that's happening is that there are two kinds of webs emerging. One is the sort of content web, which is where authority gets built over time, where an article has been posted and it accumulates authority over time as people link to it. And then there's the real-time web, which is where information, either by humans or machines, gets published as it happens. And Twitter is a big chunk of the human real-time web, just because there are now something like 20+ million people, and a fair number of them post something almost every day. And so when something happens someplace, that information travels on Twitter very quickly. But the two serve very different and kind of distinct purposes. It might not be a good idea if Google tried to index everything at all times. So all our computers would be doing nothing but serving Google at that point. Yeah.
Just like sort of a random question about blogging that's always been kind of a mystery to me. When you start a blog, when you don't really have a readership yet, is it better to sort of like build up your content before you try and like comment on other people's blogs and like refer them back to yours and try and build up a readership so you have something there when people come? Or is it better to like...
I think that, as I said, the most important thing is just to get started and not to overthink it. So I think that it's getting in the rhythm of writing things at all. That's the most helpful thing. And then one of the things that is great about what's happening out there is that other people have blogs, and so you can comment on other people's blogs, and you can have, if you use something like a lot of blogs now have a comment system called Discuss, and on Discuss you can have a profile, and so every time you comment someplace that has Discuss as a comment system, your comment will actually link to whatever you want it to link to, and it can be your personal web presence. But I think there's sort of no particular magic other than actually doing it. Because even if you have just one post, if it's interesting, people will be like, oh, well, that's kind of interesting.
Are there certain blog platforms that you talked about that use Discuss?
So Discuss is a third-party comment system, and it integrates with things like WordPress. It's easy to set up on Tumblr. If you're on the hosted version of WordPress, which is at wordpress.org, at wordpress.com. If you're on the hosted version of WordPress, they have their own third-party. They bought a third-party comment system, which used to be called Intense Debate, and they have now integrated that. But you can still, on most blogs, you can there's a module and you can get a third-party comment system. The reason I would recommend it is because most built-in comment systems kind of are pretty lame, and the most important thing if you start writing a blog is that you want to know when somebody's left a comment, and Discuss will send you an email saying somebody's left a comment, and you can just reply to it from email, which makes it a lot easier.
And then it gets posted.
Yeah. You just hit reply on the email and it puts your reply back in.
I just added that to my Tumblr, just to give you guys, it's spelled DISCUS.
DISQUS.
QUS?
QUS,
Okay.
yes.
And on Tumblr it told me to get that because I wanted to have comments. And it was my first, well, my most recent way of using HTML. You have to go into their HTML and put it in there.
Yeah, you put a few lines and then
It's
you
very easy, it's
have
cutting and
discuss.
pasting.
Yeah.
But I got my first comment already. And it came into my Gmail, so it's working.
There's nothing, you can't say enough about just doing it, you know? Just jump in.
Any other questions or a technology question or
Can I
any
ask
question
one
about what's happening on the internet?
about smartphones? Do you think that the iPhone that's coming out in August is worth waiting for?
I don't know. I don't know anything
Every
about
day
the,
I want
don't
a
know anything about the
smartphone.
new hardware, but
Yeah.
there are huge software improvements coming to the iPhone. So the iPhone was kind of panned for not having certain things like copy and paste. Yes. So copy and paste is coming in June.
You actually get that before, you don't have to get the iPhone out.
Yeah.
It's actually happened, you see now it's software update.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. The new software is delivering that, and the new software will run on the old iPhones. That's what I'm saying. That's why there's lots of speculation about the new phones, but
Nobody
I
knows.
don't know.
Is it gonna
I
cost
wouldn't
more?
know. Well, I think one of the things that usually happens when a new version comes out is you can pick up an old version pretty cheaply. So, but it's still only AT&T, so that's a bit of an issue.
If you have time, can you talk a little bit maybe about where Kindle fits into all of this kind of online
Yeah.
publishing and mobile?
So, who's tried out a Kindle? Who has a Kindle? So, I think one of the things that Amazon got completely right with the Kindle is that it lets you download books over the air. The biggest hurdle to previous e-readers was that you had to connect your e-reader. You had to download a book onto your computer, then connect your e-reader to your computer, and
Figure the software
and,
from the
yeah, and who wants to do that? Amazon is clearly trying to do with the Kindle what Apple's been doing with the iPhone, which is to create a closed loop system that lets them control the content that, or pretty tightly restrict the content that goes onto the Kindle so that they can get a cut pretty much every time that happens. So, so the thing that'll be interesting to see is whether there'll be a competing reader that has a e-ink screen or another screen that's sort of a size and quality that makes reading very, very smooth, that tries to go a more open route. And speculation is that Apple is going to release something bigger in next year. They've sort of denied it, but I think they've just recently stopped denying it. The way Amazon's been doing it is that they've been bundling the bandwidth with the Kindle. So the reason the Kindle is so expensive is not because the hardware is so expensive, it's because they have to figure out a lifetime's worth of bandwidth, meaning bits coming in over the air onto the device, and so they have to make some plan for how long they think this device is going to live and how much bandwidth all these devices are going to consume. That's also the reason why they've essentially crippled the internet access a little bit. So they don't want people getting the Kindle and then using it to browse the web all the time, because it would suck up lots of bandwidth that they would have to pay that bandwidth partner for. And so what's an interesting question is whether there'll be a device, whether from Apple or from somebody else, that will be sold on a different model, on the same model that the phone is sold on, which is as low upfront price as possible, but a monthly bandwidth fee. Amazon decided not to do that because they didn't want to have to do a deal with the carrier, and they wanted to control the distribution of their device.